The ship overseer's expression also changed slightly upon seeing this. If these sand beasts were to bite their way through the dragon bone frame of the ship, the entire ship would become extremely frail, and it would completely fall apart before it reached the primordial land. A grim look appeared on his face as he flew out of the ship, then descended out of the sky like lightning. These sand beasts and man-faced scorpions were quite sensitive to cultivators, and as soon as they detected the ship overseer's aura, they immediately converged toward him at once. Circles of black ripples instantly began surging out of the ship overseer's body, completely encompassing both himself and the ship. He had unleashed his spirit domain, but it was clear that he didn't want to cause too much of a commotion, as evidenced by the fact that the spirit domain encompassed only an area of 100 feet around the ship. As soon as the surrounding demon beasts rushed into the spirit domain, they were immediately ensnared by wisps of black mist, following which their bodies were corroded and liquefied. The three larger sand beasts were slightly more powerful than their brethren, but even they weren't able to get within 30 feet of the ship overseer before their bodies also disintegrated. Is that a spirit domain? That's incredible. As expected of a golden immortal stage ship overseer. All of the passengers on the ship were full of praise upon seeing this. However, right at this moment, Hanli's expression suddenly changed slightly, and he grabbed onto Jin Tong before darting back in retreat as quickly as he could. Immediately thereafter, the sea of sand in front of the ship abruptly erupted like a volcano, sending vast volumes of sand flying in all directions and flinging countless man-faced scorpions and sand beasts into the air. In the next instant, an enormous sand beast that was over twice the size of the ship rushed out of the sea of sand. Its enormous mouth seemed to be capable of devouring heaven and earth, and it swooped down toward the ship with tremendous power. An alarmed and horrified look appeared on the ship overseer's face upon seeing this, and he immediately attempted to flee, only for a dark red vortex to suddenly take shape within the sand beast's gargantuan mouth. The vortex was giving off bursts of tremendous suction force that completely disregarded his spirit domain and immobilized him on the spot. With just a single bite, the sand beast was able to devour the ship overseer alongside half of the entire ship. The severely damaged ship immediately began plummeting toward the sea of sand, and passengers on board had no chance to escape before they were completely inundated by sand beasts and man-faced scorpions. A chorus of agonized howls rang out as the strong stench of blood spread through the air. Aside from over 100 true immortal cultivators who had reacted quite quickly and managed to survive the ordeal, all of the other passengers had been killed in the blink of an eye. "Run!" someone yelled, and all of the true immortals immediately fled in all directions in a blind panic. Amid the chaos, a strange thought occurred to Hanli. Where is Shi Chuankong? Shi Chuankong hadn't appeared at all ever since the beginning of this incident, and Hanli was certain that he wouldn't have fallen to his demise so easily. However, there was no time to ponder such matters as Hanli prepared to flee toward the primordial land with Jin Tong, only to find that the giant sand beast was rushing directly at them. Hanli's pupils contracted slightly upon seeing this. The sand beast was quite formidable, but it was only at the mid-golden immortal stage, so it naturally posed no threat to him. Right as he was about to engage it in battle, Jin Tong's voice suddenly rang out beside his ears. "I'll take on that thing, uncle." Jin Tong's eyes were glowing with excitement, and she sprang forward before Hanli had a chance to say anything, transforming into a golden beetle before pouncing at the giant sand beast. Hanli hesitated slightly upon seeing this, but ultimately made no attempt to stop her as he watched her while standing in mid-air with his hands clasped behind his back. Jin Tong slashed a pair of front legs through the air mid-flight, and hundreds of streaks of translucent golden light shot forth through the air, then dispersed before hurtling toward the sand beast from either direction. The sand beast seemed to have realized that Jin Tong was a formidable opponent, and it stopped cold in its tracks, then conjured up two thick pillars of swirling sand that swept toward the oncoming streaks of translucent golden light. A layer of yellow light emerged over the surface of each pillar of sand. and the yellow light was giving off bursts of law power fluctuations. Golden light flashed within Jintong's eyes as the streaks of golden light brightened considerably, then fused together to form two enormous streaks of light that were several thousand feet in length each before striking the two pillars of sand. As soon as the two came into contact with one another, the two giant streaks of golden light were able to slice through the pillars of sand in an instant, and they weren't even slowed down in the slightest as they continued to hurtle toward the giant sand beast. The sand beast didn't take any evasive measures. Instead, another dark red vortex took shape within its enormous mouth, this one far brighter than the one that it had used to kill the ship overseer. A burst of tremendous suction force surged out of its mouth in a frenzy, instantly sucking in the two streaks of golden light, which flew into the vortex before vanishing without a trace. A hint of surprise appeared in Hanli's eyes upon seeing this, but he still displayed no intention of entering the fray. Bright golden light erupted out of Jintong's body, and it transformed into a huge ball of golden light as it flew toward the sand beast, which opened its mouth up even wider, while the dark red vortex inside grew even brighter. A burst of suction force that was several times stronger than before enveloped the ball of golden light, and the nearby space was collapsing in on itself. The ball of golden light was sucked into the sand beast's mouth in a flash, and the white jade pendant hanging from Hanli's waist flashed momentarily before the Pixiu's concerned voice rang out from within it. "Are you not going to save her, Master?" "There's no need for that," Hanli replied with a faint smile. "But..." Before the Pixiu had a chance to say anything further, an agonized roar suddenly erupted out of the giant sand beast's mouth, and it collapsed onto the sea of sand before writhing and squirming violently as if it were enduring some type of immense pain. A dull thump then rang out as a streak of radiant golden light shot out of the sand beast's body, punching a huge hole into it. Vast volumes of viscous white liquid came pouring out of the wound, and it was unclear if this oar's blood or something else. Another string of dull thumps rang out as more bursts of golden light erupted out of Sandbeast's body, and before long its entire body was riddled with holes. Its thrashing became even more violent as it let loose a thunderous, blood-curdling howl. "Looks like I got worried for nothing," the Pixiu grumbled before falling silent again. Finally, the giant sand beast let loose one final roar before its body exploded into countless chunks of flesh, following which Jintong flew out from its remains. It was looking a little worse for wear, with several patches of its golden exoskeleton looking rather dull, as if it had been corroded, but these were only minor injuries. At this moment, it was holding a yellow crystal the size of a human head, within which was a vortex of dark red light that was giving off bursts of formidable law power fluctuations. It seemed that the crisis had been averted, but Hanli was looking a little concerned. He felt like there was something abnormal about the roar that the sand beast had let loose prior to its death. Jintong flew back to Hanli's side, then flew in a circle around him before asking, "I killed it, Uncle. Do I get a reward?" "Once we get out of here, you can eat to your heart's content," Hanli promised with an amused smile, then reached out toward the yellow crystal that Jintong was holding. "Let me take a look at that crystal." "No, it's mine!" Jintong flew back so that she was out of Hanli's reach, then reverted back into her human form, following which the yellow crystal was stowed away amid a flash of golden light. Hanli could only shake his head with a resigned expression as he said, "Let's get out of here." Right at this moment, the entire sea of sand began to rumble and tremble without any warning, and huge waves of sand erupted into the sky. At the same time, a tremendous aura emerged beneath the sea of sand before approaching at an incredible speed. Hanli's expression changed slightly upon seeing this, and he hurriedly grabbed onto Jintong, while his thunderstorm wings appeared on his back. Immediately thereafter, he vanished from the spot amid a flash of lightning. In the same instant, the sea of sand down below exploded, and an enormous head shot out from down below before chomping down viciously. But at this point, Hanli was already gone, so it bit down onto nothing. Close to 100 kilometers away, Hanli re-emerged amid a flash of lightning. The giant head that had just attempted to swallow him whole belonged to another gargantuan sand beast. This one at least 10 times the size of the one that Jintong had just slain. The sand beast was giving off an immense aura that was infinitely approaching the high zenith stage, and a grim look appeared on Han Li's face upon seeing this, but he didn't immediately flee the scene. The sea of sand was completely unfamiliar to him, and if he were to flee blindly without any direction, he could run into even more trouble. The mountainous sand beast had no eyes, but Han Li could sense its fury. All of a sudden, it opened its enormous mouth before letting loose a deafening roar, causing the nearby space to tremble and buzz violently. Before Han Li had a chance to react, the head of the massive sand beast shot out of the sea of sand before pouncing at Han Li's duo. Despite its tremendous size, it was as fast as lightning, and it reached no more than 100 feet away from Han Li and Jintong in the blink of an eye. Bright golden light erupted out of Han Li's body as he shot back in retreat, while the giant sand beast opened its mouth to conjure up a gargantuan dark red vortex. At this point, Han Li Jintong had only managed to fly no more than 10 kilometers away, and they were immediately caught within a burst of incredibly powerful suction force.